Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Malacanang downplayed a private citizen's call for the Independent Commission for Infrastructure to probe alleged ties between First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos and businessman Maynard Ngu.
The Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, is set to live stream its hearings following transparency calls.
The Ombudsman has ordered an investigation following a fire incident at a DPWH building in Quezon City.
Tropical cyclone wind signal number 2 is now in effect over Batanes due to tropical depression Salome, according to Pag-asa.
First in the news, a letter filed before the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, is now drawing attention after its author allegedly linked First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos to businessman Maynard Ngu. Here's the report.
It's like being handed money to buy vinegar. That's how Palace Undersecretary Claire Castro described John Santander, who filed a letter of sentiment before the Independent Commission for Infrastructure calling for an investigation into the alleged links between First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos and businessman Maynard Ngu. According to Castro, Santander's letter contained no direct accusations against the First Lady.
Kung inyo makakahalubilo muli ang isang John Santander, maaari po ba niyong itanong sa kanya kung alam ba niya ang mandato ng ICI? Siya po ba'y may personal knowledge sa kanyang mga sinasabi? Dahil kung walang personal knowledge, ito ay magsisilbing hearsay evidence.
Castro added that the First Lady refuses to dignify such claims.
Kung hearsay evidence, ito po ba dapat ay binibigyan pa ng pagtutuon at seryosong konsiderasyon? Ito po ba ay isang fishing expedition lamang para siraan ang unang ginang?
As for Maynard Ngu, Castro said he's no longer the special envoy of the president to China for trade, investment, and tourism. This, as his term expired in August 2025 and was not renewed. Ultimately, it will be up to the ICI to decide what to do with Santander's letter. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, We Are One News.
The public will now witness the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, probe into alleged flood control corruption as hearings are set to be live streamed. Here is the report.
Starting next week, the Independent Commission for Infrastructure will live stream its hearings, a move long demanded by lawmakers and the Filipino people. The announcement was made by ICI Chairperson and retired Supreme Court Justice Andres Reyes during the Senate Committee on Justice and Human Rights hearing.
We don't have the facility and we don't have the rules of procedure, but we will already shorten the procedure in spite of no rules allowing us. We will now go on live stream next week.
Since September 11, the ICI has been holding closed-door hearings. Now, the public themselves will witness the unveiling of evidence against allegedly corrupt officials. Former DPWH Secretary Babe Singson revealed the depth and breadth of corruption in infrastructure projects, calling it unbelievable.
The legal process that we have to follow is so tedious. Bago po may makulong, ang haba ho ng proseso. As compared, you may want to consider, as compared to the two gold standards of anti-corruption, which is the ICAC of Hong Kong and the CPIB of Singapore.
Lawmakers lauded the ICI's move to live stream the hearings. According to Las Piñas Representative Mark Anthony Santos, with the live stream, there will be no more speculation. Akbayan Representative Chel Jokno said it is the public's right to know what happens in the hearings since they are the direct victims of corruption. With this, ML Party List Representative Laila De Lima said the people themselves will become investigators. Bicol Saro Party List Representative Terry Redon agreed, saying it's an important transparency measure.
Well, after After so many requests from different personalities, finally ang ICI ay kumbaga give in na rin, 'di ba? Doon sa hiling ng actually it is a public clamor na gusto malaman ng mga tao ano ba nangyari sa loob ng investigasyon ng ICI.
Ang naging problem lang na ICI based sa naririnig ko kay yung what's his name, Reyes, si former Justice Reyes was number one. Yung logistics of setting up the equipment needed and then the procedures, and then the number two, yung manpower, yung mahusgaan mismo yung mga witnesses pa ang tawag sa kanila, 'di ba? Or yung magsiset to testify, mahusgaan because recommendatory lang sila in nature. So they were afraid na baka may trial by publicity. But then of course, the public interest is greater at this point. So next week, we are set to first yung unang phase ata hindi siya live eh. Unang phase i-broadcast right after the hearing kasi recording. Tapos pag may equipment na daw sila ng capable mag-live stream, kaagad daw nila gagawin yon. Oo.
So, aabangan natin yung pinakauna nila dyan.
Yes,
of course, a lot of critics are saying na, ngayon yung pag ginawa yan, tapos nang pumasok si or
mahaba pa yan.
Si Congressman, former House Speaker, Martin Romualdez.
Ayun ba sa panoorin nila?
Oo. Pero sabi naman, di ba, he was set to go back I think last week, if I'm not mistaken. Pero kasi, parang meron siyang medical procedure na gagawin, by check-up siya.
May heart condition,
so,
may
antayin natin, parang meron siyang medical procedure na
for
gagawin.
that time, yeah.
So, tingnan natin yung iba pang mga mangyayari dyan ngayon sa ICI. But of course, after that, kahapon nagkaroon din ng, ng parang pinaka-hearing din sa Senado.
Yes.
Tackling the proposed bill of Senator Tito Soto na bigyan nga ng ngipin, ang ICI. But later on, we'll talk about that.
In the meantime, let's go on kasi we have with us today Congressman Terry Ridon, representative of the Bicol Saro Party List. Kong, thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, Congressman, ICI hearings is set to go on live streaming next week. Some say a little too late dahil medyo madami ng nakausap na hindi natin napanood. But what are your thoughts on this?
Well, sa isang bahagi, masaya tayo na tuloy na po yung live streaming. Actually, hindi lang live streaming, kundi yung fact na hindi na po ito private proceedings, hindi na po ito in executive session.
Right.
So,
That's right.
Initially, ang sinasabi nga natin, dapat magdesisyon yung ICI kung alin yung pwedeng public proceedings, like yung reading po ng affidavits at yung initial inquiry on these affidavits at alin yung executive session. Pero ang ginawa nila talagang ang sinasabi nila ngayon, full live streaming na po, similar to what the House and the Senate investigations had undertaken. So I think that is a very important pivot, that is a very important transparency measure undertaken by the ICI.
Kong, kasi the House and the Senate have their own rules with regards to what constitutes an executive session. With regards to the ICI, meron ba silang rules with regarding executive session? Anong pwedeng i-broadcast, anong pwedeng hindi?
Well, sila siyempre magpapasya dyan. Pero siyempre, as a general rule, dapat lahat ng sasalang sa ICI, dapat po naka-broadcast na po ito. No? So, I think for context, sa Congress at Senate, yung po nga pwede lang na executive session pagka state secrets at matters of national security. No? So, I think pwede po nga similar rules yung pong i-implement po na ICI relating to executive sessions. Yung pong mga aspeto, bahagi na hindi po isa-subject to public proceedings and live streaming.
Well, of course, some critics also say na itong ICI is just another layer of bureaucracy, stating na wala naman talagang power ang ICI. That is why si Senator Tito Soto has filed a bill giving much power to ICI. Kayo po ba ay pabor sa ganon na mas bigyan natin, gawin na pong batas itong ICI?
Hindi, wala naman tayong debate na pwede magkaroon po talaga ng batas. In fact, meron pong mga pending bills sa Senado, katulad ng binanggit po ninyo, tsaka sa Kongreso, patungkol po dito. No, pero kailangan din po natin maglinaw. I think we have to cut the ICI some slack kasi maigsi lang pa lang ho yung panahon ng buhay nito eh. I think wala pa nga ho itong 50 days. No? Para a little short of more than a month lang po ang buhay nito. So, I think they are figuring themselves out at this point, no? At meron po talaga yung actual birthing pains, particularly in the context of such a massive corruption scandal, no? So we should let them find their way, no? Pero again, very important po itong measure na ito, and I think more than anything else, it should compel actually both House of Congress to really grant them yung pong contempt and all the other powers, investigative powers that is granted to the House and the Senate. Kasi syempre, pagka halimbawa may live streaming na, tapos meron po nga mga contempt subpoena powers, talaga mapepersa po ang lahat to actually deal and cooperate with the ICI already.
Kung won't granting the ICI more powers via legislation overlap with the actual function of the Ombudsman? Kasi ang sinasabi ng iba, instead of doing that, why not allocate more funds to the Ombudsman to create a unit within itself that could tackle this very issue of corruption?
Well, I think ito kasi syempre yung wisdom ng executive at this point, no? Na kailangan ho talaga na may paghihiwalay ng focus dito po sa flood control and infrastructure corruption. Well, hindi ko sinasabing mali yung ombudsman na proposal, no? Na parang make a subunit within the office of the ombudsman, no? Pero I think what the president wanted was really for the public to be able to make sense of what had been going on through a entirely separate independent probe.
Oo. Well, in connection to that, kasi sinabi ni former Senator Drilon, who was present also in the hearing yesterday sa Senate, sinasabi niya, okay yung magkaroon ng legislative power nga itong ICI, but he calls for a sunset provision, no, to be included in the bill. Meaning nga daw po, magkaroon ng parang expiration date na, no? Parang magkaroon ng termination ng commission's existence after a certain period of time. Kasi nga daw, doon, mas maganda, mas mapalakas pa yung ombudsman. Your thoughts on that?
Wala naman tayong debate na meron pong sunset provision. Ibig sabihin, end date nito pong ICI. No? Pero I think we have to be very clear na I think at this point, hindi pa ho natin nakikita talaga yung magnitude ng pong trabaho ng ICI. No? So, siguro in the course of legislative deliberations, makikita po natin kung tama ba yung sinasabi na 2 taon o 3 taon ba yung buhay nito or baka higit pa. Kasi, syempre, alam pa, binabanggit nila yung ghost flood control projects, parang I think at least 400 na po eh. So, meron yan actual human limits on how we can actually dispose of these, no? So, we have to make a computation, time and motion, kung kaya ba talaga yung 400 within the span of 2 years lang? Oh.
Pero kung I'd like to ask, no, kasi the ICI has announced they're set to recommend the filing of several cases in a few weeks. And then this will go, I believe, straight to the Ombudsman also. If, let's say, may recommendation for some senators or congressmen, and of course, habang may investigation sa Ombudsman, meron yan order for executives at least, na magkaroon ng suspension, the Ombudsman cannot do that sa inyo, no? Anong magiging tugon ng both chambers?
Siyempre, we will see as soon as we reach that point, no? Kung ano po yung gagawin po ng Kongreso at saka Senado dyan po sa bagay na yan. I think pwede yung mag-ethics probe siguro pagka meron pong mga ganyang mga allegations. Pero we would also want to see ho talaga kung anong gagawin din ng ombudsman. Malay nyo, meron ho talagang, kumbaga, marami ho mga reforma eh. Yung pong bagong ombudsman, no? So, for example, today, I think magkakaroon po ng sulat implementing, I guess, the dismissal letter against Senator Joel Villanueva, no? So, that is something that we had never anticipated before, and they will try to do it now, no? So, I think as soon as we reach that point na meron pong mga mape-preventively suspend ng mga legislators, baka ho magkagulatan din ho tayo, no? So, tingnan ho natin pagka umabot na tayo.
But follow up lang doon. So, kung yung current setup ngayon natin with the rules that we have, the ombudsman can only request for the implementation and subject to approval for the leadership regardless kung si SP Soto yan or pag sa House sa Speaker yan. Pero is this something that is na pwedeng automatic or wala sa powers ng ombudsman yan?
Hindi, I have to check again the rules no governing yung po implementation ng mga ombudsman orders kasi tingin ko iba lang talaga yung sitwasyon dati sa sitwasyon ngayon no. Kung bakit na-implement yung ilang mga orders kasi ang pagkakaintindi ko pag preventively suspended ka, pag dismissed ka talaga sinabi ng ombudsman, particularly pagka perpetually dismissed ka from office, di ba? Parang dapat
enforceable agad.
Executory yun eh. Ibig sabihin, parang di ba parang constitutional office yung ombudsman? So dapat kaya niyang i-trump kung ano man yung mga internal rules ng mga co-equal branches of government. Pwedeng mali ako. Pero we have to see na lang po on how they will actually implement this, I guess, letter request na gagawin po ni Ombudsman Remulla on the dismissal of Senator Joel Villanueva.
Exactly, kasi going back to that topic, kasi I was looking at the articles before kung bakit hindi ito na-enforce right away noong 2016. And interestingly, at that time, it was Senate Majority Floor Leader, Senator Tito Soto, yung nag-file ng motion to adopt the opinion of Senate Legal Counsel Attorney Maria Valentina Cruz na nagsasabi daw na Ombudsman has no power to punish or evict from power any member of the upper and lower houses of Congress per Section 21 of RA 6770 or the Ombudsman Act of 1989. That's why at that time hindi na enforce nga itong dismissal ng Ombudsman. And interestingly, like what I've said, it was Tito Soto. Siya yung majority floor leader noon. Now, bibigyan siya ng letter ni Ombudsman na siya ngayon ang Senate President. So, what are your thoughts on that? Aantayin natin kung ano yung magiging aksyon niya dito.
Hindi, yun ang I think very interesting po na signs of the times. No? Pero actually, pwede rin naman siya maging consistent kasi ang totoo, yung ombudsman and particularly yung Sandigan Bayan, which is the criminal proceedings na, hindi lang po administrative proceedings, meron din po talaga mga perpetually disqualify po ito. No? So, I think we have to see whether or not that distinction will be made. Kasi I think may mga kongresista that had been involved in several corrupt practices in the past, kinonvict ng Sandigan Bayan, hindi na pinatakbo in the next elections. No? So basically, it's an implementation already of whichever order it is. No? So we have to see lang yung distinction na gagawin po ng ombudsman kung is this in advancement of yung administrative order dismissing them or it is
medyo nawawala po kayo, Kong. Oo, pakiulit na lang po natin. Pihi tayo ng konti for the signal. Medyo nawawala po kayo. Kong, can you hear us okay now? Sayang, maganda yung sinasabi.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ayan, okay. Paulit na lang po ulit yung nabanggit po ninyo regarding yung pinag-uusapan natin.
Kailangan natin makita kung meron distinction yung nagagawin yung ombudsman, no? Kung whether it's or a court order from the Sandigan Bayan disqualifying or dismissing politicians. So I think very important yung dalawang distinctions po na yun.
So in other words, kung court order na galing sa Sandigan Bayan, walang question dyan. Ang magiging question ng jurisdiction ng ombudsman over yung mga legislators natin.
Yung mga administrative dismissals na tinatawag.
Kasi
ibig sabihin kasi yun sa mga, yung ombudsman lang
Yeah.
Dismiss dun sa mga official po na ito.
Kasi I've heard several interpretations from different lawmakers. Sinasabi nila kasi yung ombudsman can only have power over the executive branch. Kasama doon yung mga mayors daw. Bakit daw ang mga congressmen and senador, they're elected officials just like yung executive natin na mayors. So, ano ang distinction sa batas nito? Should we take a look at it again given yung gravity ng corruption in the Philippines?
Well, I think we have to test it than look at it, no? So, kumbaga, someone has to actually question that before the court. Kung tama ba na, halimbawa, why are you not implementing this particular order against legislators?
Well, for me, masusubok dito si Senator Tito Soto. Well, according sa kanya, antayin daw niya muna yung communication from the ombudsman bago siya mag-release ng any statement regarding this. But moving forward to another topic, since we are talking about the ombudsman, I think yesterday he was saying na may mga lumalapit sa kanya at nagsasabi, I think mga lawmakers din na quietly would want to return na lang yung pera na parang allegedly nakuha from kickback.
Magtuturo daw sila.
Oo, pero yun nga, wala na lang names, quietly nila gagawin yung i-return yung pera. What are your thoughts on that, Kong?
Nakuha na nila yung pera eh.
Ibabalik na lang daw.
Hindi ata ganun yun. I don't think that's how the criminal justice system works.
Exactly.
So, we'll see na lang pa. We don't want to jump the gun on, syempre, on Ombudsman Remulla and of course.
Well, to be fair, wala pa naman siyang sinabi. Para ang sinasabi lang niya, may mga ganun na mga nagsasabi sa kanya.
We don't want to jump the gun on him and of course on our colleagues in Congress and the Senate. Pero again, that's not how life works. That's not how the criminal justice system works, no?
Exactly.
Kumbaga, you dip your hands into the pie and into the cookie jar to be made to pay for it.
Kumbaga, anong tinuturo mo natin sa kabataan pwede magnakaw pero ibalik mo lang.
Iba nga 'di ba nagnanakaw ng lata ng sardinas tapos kinukulong agad eh.
Well, on a slightly similar topic, Kong, madami na lawmakers natin naglalabasan ng mga kanya-kanyang salin, no? Kayo po, Kong, naglabas na po kayo ng salin?
Hindi pa tayo naglabas ng salin. We're waiting for the salin policy of the House, no? I think very important po talaga na as an institution, syempre, I head the committee and we are part of the House leadership na talaga meron ng sarili pong proseso po ng House disclosures, no? Kasi ayaw natin maging performative lang yung paglalabas ng salin tsaka paisa-isa. So ibig sabihin talagang kasi pwede mangyari, sige, naglabas ako ng salin, pero did actually change House policy, congressional policy relating to salins? Baka hindi ba? So we are intent on participating with yung pong SALN committee policy proposals, no? So I think kinonstitute na po ni Speaker Bogie D po ito.
But he himself released his SALN yesterday, di ba?
Yeah, kasi I think in the very first place, he made the commitment to actually release the SALN, no? So ako, I've been asked about it. Sabi ko, I think as soon as the House policy is in place, we will release it.
Sa policy ba, Kong, will you have something similar to that of yung kay Ombudsman? There's certain info in the SALN that cannot be released kasi maapektuhan din yung privacy ng isang individual. Like, nakalista yung mga property addresses, di ba? Yung specific details on finances. More on general details lang i-release.
Tama ho yun. So, as a general policy, there should be disclosure but respecting data privacy rights. No? So, ibig sabihin, dapat po ma-redact yung pong mga identifiers, personal identifiers, particularly mga addresses ng mga bahay, mga lote, yung pong mga pag-aari, no? Ng mga kongresista at senador. Pero I think very important to, at yan naman yung pinaka-importante makita, yung actual net worth ng mga kongresista para magkaroon po tayo ng baseline determination ng mga kayamanan po namin.
Okay. Panghuli na lang and very quick na lang, Kung yung comment mo doon sa pinalabas the other day na mga maaaring kulungan ng mga masasangkot nga dito sa anomalya ng flood control projects. Pinakita yung
Quezon City Jail.
Yung parang yung jail na bago
sa Payatas.
Ni DILG Secretary Remulla.
Una sa lahat, hindi ko alam kung doon mo talaga dadalhin yung mga ikukulong eh.
Sabi niya.
Kasi I don't think pwede hong i-determine ng DILG Secretary lang po or ng BJMP kung saan po ikinukulong yung mga sangkot po sa Sandigan Bayan cases or whichever cases, no? So, hindi ko alam if it's actually a special jail. Kumbaga, I think it should be a general jail, no? Kumbaga, magsama-sama sila doon. Kung congressman man yan, nagnakaw man yan ng kung ano man sa grocery, hindi ba? Na naksak man yan, magsama-sama sila doon. I don't think the DILG actually has the power to make a determination on where detained persons should be detained. Kasi it's something which the courts will actually decide. Diba? So, wala naman akong problema kung doon sila magsama-sama. Pero, kumbaga, hindi ko lang maintindihan kung talaga nga bang is it actually a special detention facility for Sandigan Bayan cases? I'm not quite sure.
Actually, though, kung sinabi ni DILG Secretary, it's, I think, the new Quezon City Jail Wing Kasi parang wing 2 nila to accommodate yung overflow ng current. So, hindi daw special. Pero, ang sabi kasi ng iba, ilagay mo siya sa luma kung saan daw crowded.
Hindi, kaya nga. So, ibig ko sabihin, hindi ko alam kung ano ba to was he just chasing the headlines in the soundbite? On this matter? Kasi nga, again, to be very clear, I don't think it's a special detention facility for Sandigan Bayan cases.
Yes, it's not.
It's not for the DILG and the BJMP to make that determination.
Right.
Hindi ba? And ako nga, bahala yung mga korte kung saan nila gustong
mag-decide.
ilagay yung mga detenidong mga persons. And more importantly, parang hindi ba ata deserve ng mga Sandigan Bayan cases na doon pa sila ilalagay sa magandang pasilidad. No? Kung saan magdesisyon, kung pangit na pasilidad o magandang pasilidad, dapat wala akong pagtatangi kung sino ba ito.
Unless binabahayan kung kapag umuulan. Habang nakakulong sila, babahain sila dyan. Anyway, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. As always, Congressman Terry Ridon, representative of the Bicol Sara Party List.
Maraming salamat. Magandang umaga.
Well, quickly lang before, on fairness lang para malinaw lang for DILG Secretary Remulla, he did not say doon makukulong. He said this is the most likely place na makukulong because this is 10 kilometers away from the
Sandigan Bayan.
So sabi niya, in case dito, ready na. Ang naging issue, bakit dinabas sa media kaagad, wala pa naman ang determination.
Alright, at this point, let's check in with our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes, for the latest updates from the Senate. Okay, Merimon. Okay, ito
Merimon,
na.
ang chikadora ng Senado.
Ano ba nangyayari dyan ngayon? Pag-usapan muna natin yung sinabi ni Ombudsman Remulla na maaari siya magbigay na ng letter of request sa Senate kay Tito Soto, Senate President Tito Soto, regarding the old order ng ombudsman na dismissal kay Senator Joel Villanueva. Ano ang tugon ni Senator Tito Soto regarding this?
Tama yan. So far, ang sinabi dito ni Senate President Tito Soto, hintayin niya raw muna yung communication bago siya magbigay ng komento. And ang nasabi rin kasi ni Ombudsman Remulla, ngayon niya isusulat yung letter, ipapadala niya personally bukas. At sakto dahil bukas, merong hearing dito sa Senado ang Committee on Finance sa budget ng Office of the Ombudsman. So sabi ni Ombudsman Remulla, may kailangan isettle tungkol doon sa budget plus kailangan nila pag-usapan ito. And so far, even dito kay Senator Joel Villanueva, we also tried reaching out na as early as kanina nung na-anunsyo nga itong gagawin ni Ombudsman, pero so far wala pang komento mula sa Senador. Ito kasi yung i-final na dismissal order sa kanya ni dating Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales year 2016 na sinasabing merong alleged misuse siya doon sa PDAF nung siya pa ay SIBAC party list representative. Pero so far, yung huli kasing nangyari or yung action naman from the senator was nag-file siya ng appeal ng motion for reconsideration doon sa kaso niya. At so far, hanggat wala parang final resolution, mananatili pa rin siyang magfa-function sa Senado until this year. And so far, we are also waiting din mula naman kay Ethics Committee Chairman Senator J.V. Ejercito kung paano nga ba mangyayari yung supposed na hinihintay na pagpupush doon sa dismissal order, kung dapat ba meron bang ethics complaint na ipa-file muna laban dito sa Senador para maging functional yung dismissal order, or kung paano nga ba nila pag-uusapan ito, especially by November 10, magbabalik na ang plenary sessions dito. So, maaaring i-address din nila yon via legislative inquiry.
Merimon, may nakausap ka bang from the minority bloc regarding this issue? Kasi may naglalabasan na report na given na si Senator Lacson is back in the blue ribbon, tapos he will act on this complaint. Let's say daw, hypothetically, pumayag si Senator Soto na baka mag-in jeopardy yung position ng Senate presidency.
Ang nasabi ni SP Soto tungkol dyan, tungkol muna dun sa takot niya na kesyo baka maapektuhan yung liderato niya, matagal niya na raw na isinantabi o hinarap na itong takot na to. He serves at the pleasure of his fellow senators, so major man o ordinary senator lang daw ang magiging papel niya. Magpa-perform naman daw siya accordingly. So far doon sa side naman ng minority, doon sa nilabas din na statement ni Senate Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano, tulad din ng mga lumipas na panayam sa media, desisyon naman yan ni Senator Ping kung babalik siya o hindi, wag daw idamay ang minority dito, hindi naman na daw dapat gawin pang isang teledrama yung usapin tungkol na sa Blue Ribbon Committee chairmanship. And so far naman, ang sinabi rin ni Senator JV naman itong lumipas na araw na nakapanayam din siya ng media, sa pagkakaalam niya, Wala pa naman daw usapan ng may kakalas mula sa mayorya, and coming from him, nasettle naman na raw yung unang mga question ng mga senador from the majority tungkol sa nasabi ni Senator Ping na sa 2025 yung national budget insertion sa sinasabi na dawit daw karamihan sa mga senador noong 19 Congress. Settled naman na raw yun at so far wala naman daw usapin pa na may kakalas mula sa mayorya.
Pero ato nga kanina, Marymon, kausap namin si Congressman Terry Redon and we were talking about nga itong sinasabi ni Ombudsman Remulla na pagpapadala ng sulat kay Senate President Tito Soto. Sabi ko nga ay masusubok ulit itong si Senator Tito Soto because at that time pala ng dismissal kay Senator Joel Villanueva noong 2016, it was Tito Soto who filed a motion. He was the majority floor leader at that time in Committee on Rules, no, na para wag i-impose nga itong enforce rather itong utos ng ombudsman dahil nga ang sinasabi nila dito walang power ang ombudsman over the Senate. So ano pa may nabanggit na ba si Senator Tito Soto aside from saying na wala pa siya nakukuhang communication from antayin niya yung communication from the ombudsman?
Yan pa nga yung dati si ex-Senate President Coco Pimentel, yan din yung naging conversation no, na parang walang capacity yung Senate para i-implement o gawin talaga yung dismissal order ng ombudsman. So may usapin nga doon, dapat daw may ethics complaint na ipa-file laban sa senador para magkaroon talaga ng kapangyarihan itong dismissal order. And then may conversation pa, meron pang school of thought na yung ombudsman na pwede naman, may kapangyarihan din naman ito. And so yun yung ilan sa mga inaabangan pa natin. So far, wala pang ibang nagiging komento talaga si SP Soto, maliban na lang siguro bukas pagka nagkaharap-harap na sila dito sa Senado.
Abangan natin yan. So,
go ahead. Marymon, tuwing nandiyan ka, tinatanong kita, may bagong balita ba sa Blue Ribbon Chairmanship? Si Senator Ping na ba talaga? 100%? Wala nang atrasan?
Oo, sinabi na ni Tito.
Hindi, malay mo,
so far,
mag-iba.
wala nang nagbabago. Ang nabago lang, ang una sinabi ni SP Soto, 99%, pero binago niya ulit 100% na raw.
Okay.
And by November 10, since babalik na ang plenary sessions doon, mapo-formalize na raw yung pagbalik ni Senator Ping. And nagsistem din ito doon sa pagtimbang din at pag-analyze daw ni Senator Ping sa naiwan niya sa Blue Ribbon Committee na marami pa raw ang kulang na kailangan pang tugisin ng komite. Plus, ano pa raw yung sinasabi ng publiko and ng kapwa niya mga senador. So, titignan natin kung magkaka-epekto pa ba, kung magkakaroon pa ba ng growing disappointment na sinabi ni Senator Ping na naging rason kung bakit siya nag-resign or kung magiging smooth na ang flow ng kanyang committee chairmanship. Kasi kasabay din ng Blue Ribbon, ang inaasahan din natin by November is yung budget plenary debates, BICAM, and then yung pagpipirma na ng 2026 national budget. Sabi ni Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, hopefully before the day of Christmas daw, malinis na at pirmado na raw ito. Wala nang maki-question daw na anomalya sa budget.
Alright, maraming salamat sa ating mobile journalist, Marymon Reyes. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. For more updates from the ICI, we have mobile journalist Arles de los Santos joining us today via Zoom. Good morning, Arles. Kamusta na ang marathon mo dyan sa ICI?
Magandang umaga, Angela at Diego. So far, nito mga nakarang araw, wala tayong mga takbuhan dito. Siguro isa sa mga dahilan dyan ay dahil kumpara sa mga nagdaan na mga araw ng mga personalidad na dumadating dito at mga resource person, mas kakaunti na ang mga bumibisita dito para magbigay ng kanilang mga kaalaman patungkol dito sa flood control scandal investigation. Pero yun nga, kahapon ay kinumpirma ni ICI chairperson at retired Supreme Court Associate Justice Andres Reyes na bubuksan na ito sa publiko at last. Pero Angela, malaking katanungan natin siguro ngayong araw kay ICI Executive Director Brian Hosaka kung magkakaroon nga rin ba tayo ng access doon sa mga nagdaang pagdinig ng komisyon dahil sa 40 days na existence ng ICI, sang-ayon na rin sa Executive Order number 94 ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ay pribado yung mga naging pagdinig nila, closed door, pero mayroon naman daw mga audio and video recording. So kung bubuksan nila ito sa publiko, mahalaga rin no, na maitanong natin kung magkakaroon nga ba tayo ng access sa mga nagdaan na mga pagdinig na ito. Maybe para mas malinawan tayo kung saan na nga ba patungo itong investigasyon ng ICI at ano pa nga ba ang mga maaari nating asahan bukod sa mga case build-up na isinasagawa nito.
Yes, moving forward, pag nag-start na ang live streaming, will media be allowed also to be part of the gallery or the audience?
Diego, isa pa yan sa mga abangan natin no, kung kasama nga ba yan dahil mamayang hapon maaari no, kung mapagbibigyan tayo dito ng isang press conference ni ED Hosaka, mas masasagot yan. Pero kahapon sa Senado ay kinumpirma ni Justice Reyes no, na limitado nga ang kanilang manpower. Actually, 3 legal team lamang ang meron sila. So maging itong technical na side o aspeto ng kanilang pagla-livestream ng kanilang mga pagdinig ay kailangan pa rin silipin at pagplanuhan ng maayos dahil kung dito sa lugar kung saan isinasagawa no, sa isang kwarto dito, yung mga pagdinig ng ICI, limitado lamang yung lugar no at hindi talaga nito ma-accommodate yung sa bilang natin, aabot na tayo sa humigit kumulang na mga 60 na kapatid natin sa media ang araw-araw na pumupunta rito. Bukod pa dyan, syempre, yung iba pa ng mga camera crews na kakailanganin na pumwesto, ganyan. And dito naman sa holding area ng media ay may isang television pero maliit lamang ito. So baka hindi rin ito makasapat para sa lahat ng mga kasama natin dito. So kailangan talaga na maging ang ICI ay maging equipped ng maayos dito sa pagla-livestream ng mga pagdinig nito.
Ako naman, Arles, on my end, I want to know, I'm curious on how did they come up with this decision finally to live stream nga itong mga hearings ito because for so many weeks yan ang 'di ba ang sinasabi ng ibang mga tao na actually public clamor na dapat sila ay mag-live stream na. Oo, sila ba ay na pressure sa public or may nag-utos sa kanila? Paano?
Kasama doon, Angela, syempre, yung malakas na panawagan ng publiko na gawin ngang nakasa publiko itong mga pagdinig ng ICI, no? Pero mahalaga na tignan natin yung galit ng taong bayan at sa gravity ng korupsyon at mga allegation dito sa mga maanumalyang flood control projects kung bakit nga ba talagang nangangalampag ang publiko na gawing live stream itong mga pagdinig ng ICI. At hindi lamang ang publiko, kundi maging ang ilang mga political personality ay ito rin ang panawagan. Actually, nakarinig tayo ng mga reaksyon mula sa ibang mga individual no, na medyo huli na raw ang lahat dito sa pagla-livestream ng ICI sa mga pagdinig na ito dahil kung titignan natin, Angela at Diego, yung lineup ng mga naunang personalidad. No? So, in 40 days ng ICI, nasa 40 personalities na ang kanilang naimbitahan. At kasama dyan, yung mag-asawang Pacifico at Curly Discaya na later on ay nag-back out sa pakikipag-coordinate sa ICI. So, mahalaga sana malaman kung ano nga ba itong mga naging, di ba, yung mga revelasyon ng mga ito sa mga nagdaang pagdinig. Gayon din sa pagdating ni dating House Speaker Martin Romualdez bukod sa pagpapasa ng affidavit, ano pa nga ba ang napagdiskusyonan at patungkol lalo doon sa mga naging budget insertion ng Kamara at kay Senator Chis Escudero na kasama din sa mga iniuugnay dito no sa flood control scam na ayon nga sa kay Yusek Bernardo ay nakakakuha ng 160 million pesos. So yung mga ganong bagay, Angela, no, at kahit si ICI Chairperson Reyes at si ICI Commissioner Babe Singson ay talagang nagulat daw sa bigat at gaano kalala itong problema na kinahaharap natin sa korupsyon, no? Kaya nga ay kasama sa mga napag-usapan kahapon yung Senate Bill 1215 kung saan nais gumawa ng batas mismo na nabubuo ng Independent People's Commission na mag-iimbestiga nitong mga infrastructure projects ng pamahalaan. Dahil nakukulangan sa kapangyarihan ang ICI no para ma-prosecute nga itong mga nauugnay dito sa iskandalo na ito.
Arles, very quick na lang last on my end to clear lang yung paano yung mga previous hearings, 'di ba? Ito ba na-record before and then will we have access to it? Just to clear lang, nabanggit mo siya kanina eh.
Yes, Angela, mayroong audio and video recording itong mga nakdaang pagdinig, no? Kasama sa itatanong natin kay dito sa ICI mamaya kung magkakaroon nga rin ba tayo ng access dito. Pero lahat naman daw ng mga pagdinig kahit yung isinagawa na interagency coordination meeting ay mayroon yung mga recording. So, I believe pati transcript meron, no? So, asahan natin na magkakaroon tayo ng linaw sa tanong na yan sa bago matapos ang araw na ito.
Alright.
Thank you for that. That was mobile journalist Arles de los Santos reporting live from ICI headquarters in Taguig.
Now in weather, Salome has weakened and is now moving southwestward over Luzon Strait. The tropical depression was last spotted 85 kilometers southwest of Basco, Batanes. It is forecast to continue weakening throughout the forecast period until it becomes a remnant low by tomorrow. Signal number 1 is up over Batanes, northern and western portions of Babuyan Islands, and northwestern portion of Ilocos Norte. Other areas in the country may also experience rains due to the ITCZ, easterlies, and localized thunderstorms.
Joining us now for the latest in Tropical Depression Salome is Pag-asa weather specialist John Manalo. John, thank you for joining us.
Magandang umaga po at ganoon din sa ating mga taga-subaybay.
Ayan, based sa huling report natin dyan, no, sino pa bang apektado ng Tropical Depression Salome?
Opo, mainly when it comes to lakas ng hangin, no, ang apektado pa rin ay yung Batanes, yung Babuyan Islands, pero yung western part na lang ng Babuyan Islands at yung northwestern part ng Ilocos Norte. Pero when it comes to rainfall, ay maapektuhan pa rin. Hindi lang yung binanggit nating mga probinsya, kasama din yung Apayao, Abra at yung Cagayan.
Yeah, how about John, yung Metro Manila?
Yung Metro Manila po ay partly cloudy to cloudy skies. Ibig sabihin ay mas mababa yung chance ng mga pag-ulan. Pero nandun pa rin yung posibilidad ng mga localized thunderstorm or yung panandali ang mga pag-ulan for a specific area lang and for a short period of time.
So yung mga may planong may weekend getaway approaching this Saturday and Sunday, ang abiso mo, be cautious kung saan kayo pupunta.
Well, in general po, magdala pa rin po tayo ng payong at kung uulan man, panandalian lang yun. So may enjoy pa rin naman po.
Any other weather systems that we are monitoring?
Sa kasalukuyan, may nakikita po tayo na cloud clusters pero nasa labas pa ito ng Philippine Area of Responsibility. Meron itong potential na maging low pressure area pero next week pa. And siguro, maganda rin po na i-mention na dahil naka-apat na tayo this October, ang inaasahan na lang natin na mga bagyo, until the end of the 2025 ay 2 to 5 na lang.
So ano update dyan with regards sa Amihan?
Sa Amihan po, no, hindi pa rin tayo nag-onset. Well, pero nakikita na natin yung mga signatures na Amihan na, pero hindi pa talaga nag-onset dahil
malamig sa umaga Malamig sa umaga
Ayan, opo. So yan po yung isa sa mga senyales na talagang papunta na tayo doon. Pero hindi pa rin po officially nagdi-declare yung pag-asa ng onset. Dahil kailangan ma-meet pa rin natin na malaking bahagi ng Luzon dapat northeasterly winds na.
Pero
perhaps,
go ahead, sorry.
This coming week or within this week, nakikita natin na mataas na talaga yung posibilidad na mag-onset na tayo.
Pero definitely, hindi na tayo aabot sa 36, 38 degrees.
Well, mababa na yung chance. Paunti-unti, mararamdaman na po natin yung Christmas feels, yung mas malamig na temperature.
Na-excite lang ang mga kababayan natin dyan. Pasensya na. We had to ask that. Sige, any other questions, Angel? That's it. Thank you for that. Pag-asa weather specialist John Manalo for joining us once again on our program.
Thank you po.
House Speaker Bojo D has released a copy of his Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, or SALN, to the public. Now, in the SALN, D disclosed ties to 4 firms, 3 in Isabela and 1 in Pasig. His net worth is not more than 74 million pesos. D also listed 16 relatives currently holding government positions. Recall that D himself said he will publicize his SALN amid the public outrage over revelations of rampant corruption in government.
Let's get more updates from the House of Representatives from our mobile journalist, Amy Atienza. Amy? Nakamute. Amy, we can't hear you.
May technical difficulty lang sa audio.
Well, kanina we were talking to Congressman Terry Ridon. We talked about releasing of SALN.
They're just waiting for the ruling.
Well, siya and other congressmen, because the House Speaker himself has already released his SALN yesterday. And also prior to that, yung Makabayan Bloc, diba? They've also released their SALN.
I think ang hinihintay ni Congressman Ridon is the actual magiging guidelines with regards to how the congressmen release their SALNs para moving forward, uniformed already and may mga protocols in place. Pero it does not mean daw na independently on your own volition, pwede ka hindi ka pwede maglawasalan. Pwede.
Pwede.
It's just that they want it to be uniformed and they want it to be na planchado.
But according nga also kay Ombudsman Remulla, yung mga certain information that will be redacted, di ba,
Yes.
from the SALN, of course, yung
Address,
mga
locations.
for privacy naman, of course, if merong mga minor na may involved doon, kailangan nakaredact din
Yes,
yung
that's
yung information na yan. Anyway, in other news, a fire gutted at the DPWH Bureau of Research and Standards building in Quezon City. Firefighters deployed at least 12 trucks to contain the blaze that lasted 2 hours, injuring 2 people. Initial reports say the fire started after a computer exploded inside the materials testing division. The DPWH clarified no documents related to the flood control corruption probe were destroyed, as records are stored in their central database. Ombudsman Boyeng Remulla has ordered the NBI and BFP to investigate possible arson.
Disturbing that in a place like Quezon City, masusunog yung records ng isang office na maraming investigation pa ang kinakailangan mangyari.
A fire broke out in Barangay Katmon, Malabon on Wednesday, leaving hundreds of families homeless. Here is the report.
A mass Sitio 6, Barangay Katmon, Malabon City on Wednesday. The blaze, which was raised to Task Force Alpha, destroyed around 1,500 houses. It broke out late in the afternoon and was declared under control past 10 p.m.
Nakala kasi ng mga bombero is sa bungad lang. Sa may junk shop, doon na una yung sunog, tapos hanggang sa kumalit sa may likod, syempre po dikit-dikit na hanggang umabot na dito. Around mga 3 to 4 yan eh. Then yung sabi nga po ng mga bombero, wala po daw supply ng tubig, kaya sobrang tagal, kaya lalo pong kumalit yung apoy.
As of early Thursday, the fire has affected over 540 families or more than 2,400 individuals. Many displaced residents are staying at evacuation centers where modular tents have been set up. Nearby barangays have also opened evacuation centers to accommodate affected residents.
Pauna po syempre, nagtayo po ng mga modular tents para po yung ating mga evacuees naman ay maging safe and secure naman sila. And syempre, hindi sila nasa kalsada magstay. Although may mga families po kasi na ayaw talaga nilang iwanan yung kanilang area.
The local government of Malabon, along with neighboring communities, has provided hot meals and essential supplies to fire victims.
Sa tulong po ng ating Mayor Jeannie Sandoval, siya po ay nagpadala ng hot meals. Ganon din po ang aming barangay na si Kapitana Lara. Nagtulong po kami at nagbigay po kami ng konting panlaman sa sikmura.
Malabon City Mayor Jenny Sandoval has directed all concerned city departments to remain on high alert and carry out immediate response operations. Authorities are now investigating the cause of the fire. For News 5, Faith Del Mundo, we are One News.
Let's now get back to Amy Atienza, who's reporting live from the House of Representatives. Amy, go ahead.
Good morning, Angela Diego. Nasa usapin pa rin tayo ng SALN dito sa House of Representatives. At kanina nga ay nakapanayam ng House Media si Kamanggagawa Party List Representative Elisan Fernando kung saan tinanong nga namin siya kung ano nga ba naging opinion niya dun sa pagre-release ng SALN ni House Speaker Bogie D. III. At sabi niya magandang step nga daw ito para magtuloy-tuloy na yung pagre-release din ng SALN ng ibang mga miyembro ng Kamara dito. At kung makikita rin natin kasi sa records, nasa around 10 pa lang sila na nagre-release, kasama na dito yung ilang minority members na sina Akbayan Party List Representatives Chel Jokno, pati Representative Percy Sendanya. Nakita na rin natin yung SALN ni ng Makabayan Block Representatives na sina Antonio Tino, Rene Ico, pati na rin Sara Elago. At yun nga ang gusto sana ni Representative Elisan Fernando na sa kalagitnaan daw ng House recess or House break ay mai-release pa rin daw talaga ng mga kongresista ang kanilang mga SALN at kung maaari nga daw ay mailagay ito sa House of Representatives website o kaya House of Representatives social media accounts tulad sa Facebook para nga daw mas accessible sa publiko. At yan nga daw kasi ang isang paraan para maging transparent ang 20th Congress sa publiko, lalong-lalo na ngayon na yun nga ang isinusulong ng agenda ng 20th Congress. Pero bukod pa dyan, nag-file na rin siya ng bills patungkol naman dito sa wage increase, pati na rin sa pagre-review ng Magna Carta ng mga seafarers, kung saan merong konting linkage dun sa dalawang bills na ipinail niya dahil ang gusto niya sana ay ma-review nga itong mga sahod na natatanggap ng ating mga kamanggagawa, pati na rin ang mga seafarers. Syempre dahil ang isa daw sa mga problema ng mga seafarers ngayon ay yung problema nila sa dollar exchange, kung saan wala silang control at hindi nila nakikita kung ano nga ba yung control nitong dollar exchange, lalong-lalo na sa kanilang sahod. So far yun pa lang, Angela, Diego, babalitaan namin kayo kung meron pa nga bang mga kongresista na magre-release pa ng kanilang SALN ngayong araw o kaya sa mga susunod pang araw. Angela, Diego.
Well, any other hearings na dapat namin malaman na ongoing ngayon dyan sa House of Representatives?
So far ngayong araw na wala tayong inaabangan na hearings, and actually nagulat nga kami na meron pa rin nag-file ng bills kay Representative Eddie San Fernando. So far napakatahimik pa ng House, pero nabanggit na nga rin na inaabangan din ng ilang mga kongresista rito yung pagla-live stream nitong Independent Commission for Infrastructure. So hopefully nga daw yung mga kongresista rin na dawit at invited dito sa mga investigation ng ICI ay magpakita nga para na rin sa accountability and transparency ng 20th Congress.
Alright, maraming salamat Amy Atienza, reporting live from the House of Representatives. Now, Ombudsman Boying Remulla will meet with the Sandigan Bayan next week to finalize the mechanics of restitution or the return of public funds lost in alleged flood control anomalies. Here is the report.
The Office of the Ombudsman will evaluate a series of complaints filed by the group United Filipino Against Crime and Corruption against Tarlac 3rd District Representative Noel Rivera, his wife Concepcion Vice Mayor Evelyn Rivera, and DPWH Tarlac 1st District Engineer Neil Farala. The complaints include plunder, graft, unexplained wealth, and violations of the Government Procurement Act, along with administrative charges for abuse of authority, grave misconduct, and serious dishonesty. The group alleges that the three conspired to channel nearly 600 million pesos worth of government contracts to their own company, Tarlac 3G Construction and Development Corporation. Congressman Rivera, reportedly the company's president, CEO, and general manager, allegedly acted as the contractor for 13 infrastructure projects in Tarlac since 2018. Ombudsman Boying Remulla said the case will undergo evaluation and validation of documents before a possible preliminary investigation.
Validate lang natin yung documents kung siya talaga, kung walang pagbabago sa official documents na dapat i-contain ng isang complaint. Yun. Tutuloy na natin ang PIN after validation.
Remulla also disclosed that a former Quezon City lawmaker has expressed willingness to share what he knows about alleged irregularities in flood control projects. Remulla said that he received a call from a friend who acted as an intermediary between him and the former lawmaker.
Nakatanggap din ako ng tawag. Isang kaibigan ko, para siyang go-between sa isang congressman from Quezon City who wants to tell all. So, we'll wait. I will work on that.
Anong tell all? Ano daw yung sasabihin?
Yung involvement niya sa lahat na nangyayari. Tsaka kung paano kalakaran, paano nangyayari lahat yan.
Meanwhile, Remulla is set to meet with the Sandigan Bayan on October 27th to finalize the mechanics of restitution. He earlier insisted that those involved in flood control anomalies must fully return the stolen public funds if they wish to enter into a plea bargain with the government.
We want to lay down the mechanics in the Sandigan Bayan. Kasi lahat ng ganito will end up with plea bargaining. At yun ang talagang ending yan. We should seek the court's clearance para matapos yan.
The Philippine Army has delisted Cavite 4th District Representative Kiko Barzaga from its reserve force for actions deemed equivalent to grave offenses. Army spokesperson Colonel Louis De Maala said the move was made after a thorough review under AFP regulations. Barzaga was stripped of his rank as a private reservist and is no longer allowed to wear the military uniform or be recommissioned in the future. Now, the action stemmed from Barzaga's social media posts where he was seen in uniform and allegedly made statements insinuating sedition amid anti-corruption rallies.
In the UAAP, the UP Fighting Maroons bounced back strong, defeating league-leading National University. Harold Alarcon led the charge with a season-high 24 points along with 4 assists and 3 rebounds, helping UP recover from a tough loss to LaSalle last week. The win pushes UP to solo third place with a 5-3 record, overtaking the Green Archers.
Right, another episode has gone by. Please watch us tomorrow, the last broadcast for the week. Madaming updates yan, madaming updates. And with that, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote. Being honest may not win you many friends, but it will always earn you peace. Friends or peace. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. Kapatid, we are One News.
All sides, all the time.